This is part 2 of our masking task, or task 2, where we're going to use type, and we're going to mask type into this botanical illustration. Now, our first order of business in any case, whenever we have any kind of image, is to try and separate object from the background. And in this case, it's pretty easy because the background is just off-white. Now, I'm going to use, and I found the best luck with the magic wand tool on this image. And again, I encourage you to try your own and experiment with the magic wand and the quick selection tool. But as for today, I'm going to use the magic wand and try to select and see where we go. Notice that with my current selections of intolerance and options for the magic wand at 32 and contiguous, look at what I get here. I have these selections that are on the leaf here that I don't want. I just wanted to get the background. So in this case, I don't normally do this. I'm going to change the tolerance. And I'm going to change it back to 15. And let's see what happens when I do that. I'm going to deselect this, Command D. And I'm going to select my background again. And notice that it grabs just a little bit here. So maybe hitting contiguous would help. I'm going to deselect, hit that again. There we go. Okay, contiguous did help in this case. Are there any areas I need to add to? It looks like I need to add this area and this area since they're separate. So I'm going to select that, and that seems to have gotten that situation. I'm going to zoom out, which is Command 0, and I'm going to see what my selection looks like with the quick mask mode. That looks pretty good as a selection. There's some rough areas here, but only because this twig or this stem here is pretty much the same color as the background, but that's okay. Well, we can work with that. So I like this. So I'm going to invert my selection, select, inverse, and now I'm going to copy paste, Command C, Command V, and now I have a separate background. Oh, it looks like I missed this area. So I'm going to magic wand that tool and cut that, Command X. Command X, one of the only times you'll see me use Command X, so congratulations. And I'm going to make a new layer, and let's use it as our background color. Now, I'm still going to use a really light background, just so it doesn't get too complicated. And this could be any light background. You don't have to use a light background. Deselect. You can use anything you want. Oops, but not that. There we go. And I filled that. And I want to lay down some type. Now we're going to use the type tool on our topmost layer since we want it to be on top and visible. It's going to be easier for us to place type on. I'm going to use the type tool. Now this is very similar to what you worked with Word or PowerPoint. You basically just add text to wherever you click. Now I've increased my font size to 372 points. You may need to increase your font size. Sometimes I've used this and I've clicked and I can't really see where I'm typing. So just make sure that you have your size set up kind of high just at first, and you can resize it. You also have access in the options bar to a bunch of different typefaces, and you can pick the one that's most appropriate for you. You can try new things that you wouldn't normally try. I think I have some kind of script written. Let's see. Yeah. And I've typed that out, and it is in kind of this handwritten kind of scripted font. And I'm going to overlap this and pick a spot and make sure that this overlaps with the illustration, because Now, just like we did with our geometric shapes, I want to integrate this type into the piece to make sure it's like not just a flat piece of type just kind of slapped on this illustration. I want to integrate this with the piece to add interest, right? That's our goal, to add interest as artists always. So I'm gonna use my mask with this type layer. It's nice that Photopea gave us an entire layer and it even named it with what we typed, a type layer that we can use separately as a separate element. I'm going to use my mask. There's our mask, our raster mask. Notice that it adds a new thumbnail image next to our T there for type. And with this placed, I want to start masking out sections that are kind of covering over the type. But remember, in the end, it's all an illusion, right? We're trying to sell this illusion to the viewer. So I'm going to grab my brush. I still have my hard brush settings. There's my hardness there. But I'm going to make my brush bigger. And let's mask out the upward stem from this H. I want to make it seem like it's going behind the leaf. I think that would be a cool effect. So I'm going to start masking that out. And I need to paint in black. So I'm going to hit D for default and then X for black. And I can just paint that out. And it being organic, it's pretty easy to paint out these sections. I'm going to paint out this H, or at least the hump of that H. Let's make my brush just a little smaller. Remember that if you make mistakes, like if I go too far, that's okay because I can always hit X again to change my color back to white, my foreground color to white, and I can reveal that. Remember our mantra for masks, black covers up and white reveals. I'm going to go back to black again and mask out this area. Now I'm going to kind of guess where that leaf is, but again, that's okay because it's organic. And I can get some of that back. And let's zoom out and let's see how that looks. Nice. Maybe it's a little too much of that letter, and maybe I want to get that little hump of the H back. So I'm going to color that back in with white and get that back. You know, I don't want to make it all disappear because then it will be illegible, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to paint out and mask this part of the O. It's always nice for like things to go through the middle of like letters, I find. I'm going to hit X to mask out this area. And again, that stem is kind of cut away there and it shows the background, but that's okay. That's okay. We're just kind of guessing. And maybe the same thing is happening over here. Mask that out. And again, this is just like when we played around with our sketchbook and doing thumbnails. It's all a game, right? What can we do that adds interest? And maybe this part of the O. Goes behind. We go. So we have like letters that go behind. And now we can look at this and actually sell this as integrated, all by using masks. Now there's one other special thing that I'm gonna do that I always find it's good to like add in just a touch of detail-oriented kind of things. I mean, this is pretty detailed in and of itself, but I'm gonna add some shadow to this type to make it really look like it's there. casting a shadow on this branch and on these leaves, and I'm going to do that on a separate layer. Now this separate layer right here doesn't have anything. I'm going to use my brush, but this time I'm going to use a soft brush. Here's a soft brush here, and it looks like it's a little too big. Maybe I'll make it smaller. I'm going to click once there just so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to undo that, Command Z, and I'm going to change my opacity. I'm painting in black, but I'm really painting in a low opacity. And what I want to do is add in shadow to where the type hits the branch, where if it was casting a shadow, what would it look like? So maybe along here. And again, this is a gradual thing. I'm painting this on many times to help darken that section in. So I'm building up that value. Now you can of course make a bigger and larger transition from opacity, but I like to be subtle about things and take my time. Here's some shadow I can add under here. It would be really dark, this section, and over here. And of course I'm just doing my best guess on where the shadows would be. Maybe over here with this O, and under here. Let's keep going, adding shadows, and let's see how this turns out. Okay, I like the way that turned out. And now we can see that it's really interacting with the stem of this flower, and we've added in a little bit of a cast shadow on the stem, and it turned out great, all with our help of masks and a little bit of painting with black. Let's do a couple of more of these. And guys, I will see you next time. Take care.